Welcome to this week's episode of Amanda Makes a Mess. I'm Amanda, and today I'll be making a mess. Some of those messes turn into art, some of them turn into garbage. So let's get started and see which one it is this week. So in last week's video, I said that this week's video was going to be a drawing featuring some of the animals from the Chinese zodiac, like the ox, since this is the year of the ox, the rat, since that's my Chinese zodiac sign, and also the year of the rat was 2020, so I wanted to do something with that year going out and this new year coming in, even though technically the Chinese zodiac new year doesn't start till February. But the more I looked at that drawing, the more I just hated it. And so it's not going to see the light of day. But then, conveniently, I hit the last page of my sketchbook, and I was going to do my last page of my sketchbook anyway, and I thought, well, maybe I should just do a video on that, because it was my intention eventually to make a video showing how I always do the last page of a sketchbook, because I always do it pretty much the same way. And I also want to do a video showing how I start my sketchbooks, because I also start them pretty much the same way. On the last page of a sketchbook, I always draw one of my original characters, and usually it's Marisol, this girl here, but we'll get more into who she is later. Then I always have the character saying goodbye somehow, and sometimes thank you for taking time to look through my sketchbook or something like that. But this is the character that I usually use. She's a little difficult to explain, because I want to do a video later on, like actually, I guess, kind of introducing her to my YouTube channel, I guess, because I do draw her a lot. She's one of my favorites of my original characters, so you will see her a lot. She will pop up a lot. Her name is Marisol. She's a 12-year-old vampire. I haven't settled on a birth date for her, but it was like sometime in the early 1950s, I think. So she grew up in the 50s, and she was killed by a serial killer in the early 1960s. And she's been 12 years old for about 60 years, but she's spent like roughly 50 of those years shut up in somebody's basement, because this is more than I wanted to get into now if I'm going to introduce her properly later. But basically, in their vampire society, it's illegal to turn children into vampires because they stay children forever. So the vampire who turned her into a vampire was put to death, but because she was a child and she had not done anything wrong, they couldn't kill her, so they just kind of locked her up in the basement for 50 years, which is, I guess, the best idea I had for that. That could change later on, I don't know. So she's kind of out of touch with the world, and yeah, I probably, if I'm introducing her later on, shouldn't tell you how she gets out at this point, but after she gets out, she's like really out of touch with everything, and she has to sort of learn about the modern world and learn to be human at the same time. She was originally a character for a comic that it kind of went a little out of control, because I was going to do like a 5-panel comic about this girl, but that didn't happen because I really liked her as a character, and I put too much thought and too much effort into creating her. And she ended up with this whole big backstory. She has other characters, like, in her life, I guess. I don't know. In her life, it doesn't sound right if she's a vampire. Which, by the way, is what the reason for the undead thing added to, that we made it out of 2020 alive. Because she's a vampire, so she's not technically alive. Oh, what was I talking about? Oh, I don't remember. Oh, so I've basically already said everything I need to say in this video, and I've got another 11 minutes to fill. I didn't see this one coming. Um, okay, well, the original comic that I was going to make, I actually started out by drawing Wednesday Addams, but she looked really scared. She was like walking in front of a cemetery. There's a cemetery behind her. She looked really scared, like she was looking back over her shoulder. And I kept looking at the drawing and thinking, no, Wednesday Addams wouldn't look scared like that if she was walking home past the cemetery at night. Then I couldn't get it out of my head, like, who was this girl if she wasn't Wednesday Addams? Because at that point I hadn't colored it yet, and she could have been anybody. So I don't remember how exactly she turned into a vampire, how I started thinking along that train of thought, but basically it turned into, she wasn't like this innocent girl out for a walk, like she was going home, walking past the cemetery, and she got scared. She was just faking it, and she was actually out hunting for like her dinner or whatever. And the cat laying on the cemetery wall behind her was with her, like it was her guardian, because technically, I mean, she is still 12 years old. And the cat was a shapeshifter, which led to a whole bunch of other stuff that I'm not going to get into right now, because I really do want to do a video where I go more in depth with her character and her story, because, like I said, she does pop up a lot. Like, I draw her more than any other character. But so that was the first panel of the comic. The second one, I was just going to show this like creepy guy following her, and then she's looking more scared. And then in the third panel, he approaches her, and the fourth one is just like her face with her fangs hanging out and her eyes turned red, and like, I guess I wanted to try to make it obvious there that she was a vampire. And then I wasn't going to show like anything graphic, like no gore or anything. I wasn't gonna show her actually eating him. I was just, in the last panel, I was going to have her like walking through the door of her house, and she's got a big blood stain on her dress, and then her mother or whoever she lives with was going to be like yelling at her because she was such a messy eater. And it was supposed to be kind of funny, but kind of, I don't know, not really gross. Like, I guess funny but scary, maybe, at the same time. But I put way too much thought into it. I never actually did end up finishing that comic. Like, I don't think I even finished the first panel. I don't think I ever even colored it. Yeah, I don't even know where that's at. I think it's in one of my old sketchbooks. I should probably go back and look for that, and then like post a picture of it to Instagram or something if I happen to think about it. Oh wow, okay, so I've got another 7 minutes I have to fill. I could just use music, but like I don't want to, because I'd have to go out on the internet and find some royalty-free music and download that, and music seems like it's kind of a pain. I've never actually used it. yet, although I'm sure at some point I probably will because I'll probably get tired of talking. But okay, this design for Marisol here. This is actually the second design. My original design, she had bangs and her hair was in braids. But drawing those bangs just annoyed me because I couldn't get them right every time. Like, I don't think I did any two drawings where they looked exactly the same. And I hated drawing braids because the way I draw them is so detailed. Like, I didn't want to draw them over and over and over and over again. So for a long time, as much as I liked her as a character, I just kind of stopped drawing her. And then I kind of missed her because, like, I guess I got attached and I really liked her story and I got, like, really into her story and I wanted to develop the other characters more. That was actually one of my art goals for 2020 was to develop the characters in the story more, which didn't happen. So I ended up redesigning Marisol. I think the redesigned version is, it first makes an appearance in Sketchbook 9. And then this is what she looks like in Sketchbook 10 and Sketchbook 11. Yeah. So I did away with the bangs and she doesn't have braids anymore. Even though this version, her hair reminds me a little too much of the way I draw Harley Quinn. But it is a different color, so I think it's probably okay. And it is actually lighter, intended to be lighter than it is here, because I usually use Ohuhu markers when I color Marisol. I think her hair color is barium yellow, which is like a really pastel yellow. But my Ohuhu markers are running out of ink. I mean, I filled up like at least 2.5 sketchbooks with them, so that, to me, that's pretty good. But yeah, they are running out of ink. I do have another set ordered. I just haven't got them yet. So because I didn't trust my yellow Ohuhu marker on this drawing, I used a Sharpie for her hair, and it came out darker than I really wanted it to. Also, her skin ends up coming out darker. She's supposed to be really pale because she's a vampire, but I wasn't using the Ohuhu markers here. I usually use, I don't remember what they're called, B2, which I think might be potato brown for the shading, and then B3, which I do not remember the name of. It might be barely beige. I don't know. That doesn't sound right. But I think those are the ones I usually use for her skin. And it comes out lighter. But for her skin, I was using a cheap set of markers I got at Five Below, which are actually, like, I was amazed by the quality of those markers for such a low price. Because you don't find alcohol markers for $5 unless it's like $5 per marker, and I got a package of 12 for $5. So yeah, the next time you see Marisol, she'll be her right color. She'll be the colors that she's supposed to be. Because hopefully by then I will have the new set of Ohuhu markers. I did actually get the pastel set in the mail today, so if I don't have the right set by that point, hopefully there will be markers in the pastel set that will be a close substitute, or at least closer than that yellow Sharpie, because her hair looks like it's glowing. That's pretty bad. Which I guess it's appropriate, though, because the name Marisol is Spanish, I think. It means sun, or like something about the sun, which I thought would be a good name for a vampire because, you know, vampires can't go out in the sun. So I'll name her something that has to do with the sun. Because actually everything about her I wanted to be completely the opposite from vampires. Like, she's blonde, she's like a cute little kid, she's not creepy looking or anything. Like, vampires in fiction, they usually have like some level of creepiness to them or something. And they're all adults pretty much. But I didn't want to do that with her. I wanted her to be like the opposite of a vampire, so it would be like more shocking to the people that she was hunting that she was a vampire, because that is actually a big thing in the story later on, but I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm almost at the end of the video, so I think I'd better start wrapping this up. So this is the end of Sketchbook 11. This is your first, well, if you're not following me on Facebook or Instagram, this is your first introduction to Marisol. And next week I will be back with either a sketchbook tour of Sketchbook 11 or the first page of Sketchbook 12. So look for that next week, and goodbye for now.